Hi, I'm Veronica Brogini, and today I'm going to be talking about Rosemarie Rizzo Parse. So, my theorist is Rosemarie Rizzo Parse, and her theory was the theory of human becoming. Who is Rosemarie Rizzo Parse? She was born on July 28th in 1938 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She is still alive today. She went on to serve as the Dean of Students at a few nursing schools. She worked as a professor at the Center for Nursing Research at the City University of Hunter College in New York City. She went on to work as a professor at Loyola in Chicago and was a visiting scholar at New York University College of Nursing. What is her theory? The theory of human becoming is a little bit confusing and it has many different parts. I thought this graphic explained it well. The first principle being meaning, so certain types of values, the ability to choose personal meaning through somebody's lived experiences, including their environment, where they work, their home life, that all contributes to their meaning. The second principle being a unity of apparent opposites or opportunities and limitations, which is rhythmicity. That is the co-creation of man within their environment and certain rhythmical patterns that they may go throughout their day in conjunction with their environment. And then the third principle is moving beyond continuous change or transcendence, meaning that the person is multidimensional, they're always transforming, and there are constantly possibilities emerging for that individual. So the essence of this theory is that human beings are a combination of biological, psychological, sociological, and spiritual factors. They're in continuous interaction with the environment, whether that be at home, at work, at school, just out at the store, in the hospital. So they're always in contact with their environment. It's important to note that with this theory, human beings aren't just somebody that came into the hospital. Each one is individual and they each have individual needs based on the meaning, rhythmicity, and transcendence that I had mentioned earlier from the graphic. We should not base their care solely on a generalized model. A lot of the times we see that in the hospital where we kind of generalize with every single patient, and that's not optimal. So we need to take into consideration their outlook and what their idea of a good quality of life would be. Care should always evolve with the patient. If they're changing, then the care should be changing as well. We shouldn't keep the care the way that it is just because that's what we're used to. We need to be changing it with the patient. And as I mentioned before, it's based on three themes: meaning, rhythmicity, and transcendence. And all three of those make up the theory of human becoming. Those are the basis and the pillars for that theory. So some application into real world practice. I put pain assessment as my first one because I feel that pain assessments are maybe where the most judgment happens, and they are very important, and they are probably one of the most subjective assessments that we do. So how we can apply this to the theory of human becoming is we take the patient at their word concerning their pain level. There may be others in the room, but we don't take that into consideration. We don't, if a family member answers for the patient, we do not listen to that person because they are not the patient, and the care is not based on what the wife says, it is based on what the patient says. And it's very important to note that pain is something that varies from person to person. So two people may have the same injury or illness, but that does not necessarily mean that they perceive the pain in the same way. One person may rate it a 3 and one person may rate it a 10. And so we always have to take into consideration the patient and their specific needs and their outlook on their quality of life. So the next thing would be their values. We always have to understand and take into account not only our own values, but the values of the client. Their values are not always going to be the same as ours, so it's important that we make sure that we are understanding of those values, we are not judgmental of those values, and that those values are incorporated into their care. Some interventions would be focusing on the whole patient and their health outcomes and what they perceive to be optimal health outcomes. This can also correlate with nursing diagnosis. The interventions should be based on and include the patient and what they perceive their health outlook to be. So an example that I used would be a client states their pain is a 10 on the 1 to 10 pain scale. The client's wife goes on to say that his pain is not a 10, and even if it is a 10, he deserves to be in pain because maybe this person is an alcoholic and they are going through withdrawals, but maybe this will teach him to stop drinking. This is an aggressive family member. Clearly, it is not good for the therapeutic Mayu in the room. It is not good for the patient's mental health. And we need to take into account that the patient's pain is a 10 regardless of what the wife says. So as the nurse, we are not going to listen to what the wife is saying in this instance because although family members are important, this is not helpful to the patient or the patient's care. We are not going to judge the patient or press our values onto them about alcoholism. We are going to listen to the patient. Instead, we're going to speak to them about their pain and assess it accordingly. And we are going to figure out what their health goals are and what they perceive to be helpful within their environment. So in conclusion, the theory of human becoming is the basis and framework for holistic nursing. It aims to consider the patient's values and their overall goals for health, including what they are surrounded by within their environment. A couple questions would be, do you think the theory of human becoming is something that we see a lot in nursing today? And is there anything that you would change about the theory of human becoming to make it more patient-friendly? And here are my references.